Hello, I am Dr. Terry James Gingrass, and this is Dr. G's ADHD Chat. This is a show trying to make the world safe for ADHDers. I am a clinical psychologist. I have a private practice. I have been working with ADHD children, families, parents for 40 years or so. And one of the biggest problems ADHDers have, especially with people who are kind of not, what do I want to say? Maybe don't read medical research. How's that? It looks like it's a behavior problem. I mean, I remember I forgot to tell you, I am also the parent of an ADHD adult. But when he was a kid, he threw temper tantrums like I've never seen before. And that was one of the first clues I had that something was not quite the same with this one as with his brother and sister. However, at that stage of the game, because the research was not all that good on ADHD, I didn't really know what was going on. Well, they say, oh, it's ADHD. Well, yeah, but why? What makes them do that stuff? Well, I mean, we have found that ADHD is a neurologic condition. It's because of differences in the way their brains work that they have the problems they have with attention, concentration, hyperactivity, working memory, and all the rest of it. And we just didn't know that way back when. I mean, I think I've told you before that we didn't have ADD until 1980. And then for reasons not totally clear to me, they changed it to ADHD in 1987. Okay? Fortunately, wonderfully, there has been a ton of research. People have been researching and they're doing both basic neurologic research and more, I guess, psychologically oriented research. What we think is going on with an ADHD brain is that they metabolize certain neurotransmitters faster than a neurotypical brain. What that means is that they are deficient in, well, we think at this stage of the game it's dopamine and norepinephrine anyway, and it looks like a behavior problem because they have troubles doing the kind of things that we expect them to do. They have troubles sitting still for 6 hours in school all day long. They have troubles paying attention to the teacher. Listening to a lecture is physically painful. And a lot of the things that they do that get them into trouble are based on these neurologic differences. So one of the things that hyperactivity does is that it stimulates the flow of dopamine and norepinephrine. When you're running around yelling and screaming and jumping up and down, your whole body, but your brain particularly, is excited, and that stimulates the secretion of dopamine and norepinephrine. Same way physical activity, being able to just exercise, just run, jump, whatever for 45 minutes or so is incredibly helpful. That helps them to, well, and it depends. I mean, some people say that gives them 8 hours of control. I think that's a little optimistic, but it certainly is good for about 4 hours. If you can get 45 minutes or so of just almost continuous exercise, running, playing soccer, something like that, where they're active, really active, that tends to keep the flow of neurotransmitters where it should be. The other thing, though, is that a lot of times they react to demands made on them. Just sit quietly and read your book, or sit quietly and do your homework, or, the whole bunch of stuff. But basically, these are things that a neurotypical kid doesn't have much trouble with. But an ADHD child has extreme difficulties with this. And I think I've told you before in other broadcasts that the average ADHD kid gets 70 critical comments a day. I mean, the first time I read that, I was like, holy cow. I wouldn't be able to get out of bed in the morning if I was looking forward to that every day. But that's the situation they're in, okay? They do the kind of things that look like little bitty behavior problems. And basically, they're doing the best they can. But then somebody comes along and makes an even bigger demand on them. And they know they can't do it. And they get frustrated and unhappy. And everything from I can't please mommy and daddy to I'm not a good kid. But that gets them upset. And when they get upset, they do the behavior stuff that drives us all crazy. The temper tantrums that can last a long time. The, just seemingly out of control, running around, yelling and screaming. But when they act out, it's the acting out stuff they do is because they actually cannot do the stuff. They cannot do what's being asked of them. And they know they can't do it, but they know that other kids can do it. And that just frustrates the heck out of them. And and we sometimes, I will fess up and say that I have done it, that we will punish that behavior. And that just makes it worse, because then they'll totally fall apart. My teacher wants me to do this. I can't do this. It's too much. There's too much. And then if you don't get your homework done, you're not going to have any TV for a week. And I've done it. And I know a bunch of you out there have done the same thing. It looks like it's a behavior problem. It looks like they're being rebellious. But that's not what it is. It's almost totally the opposite of rebellious. It's the desire to please with the knowledge that it's impossible. And that, I mean, the one that makes me really, gets me right in the heart is that I can't please mommy or daddy, or mommy and daddy, then it was like, oh Lord, what a horrible position to put a kid in. But we do it all the time. We do it all the time. And our school systems are standardized, one size fits all kind of approaches to education that are still prominent in many school systems. Don't make allowances for this stuff. I mean, you can fight all you want and have the most strict 504 plan you can cobble together, and still it won't change that much. Okay? It should. And I don't know about where you all live, but in my particular part of the country, in my particular part of the world, come to think of it, we have kids who've had 504 plans for 3 or 4 years, and their teachers don't know it. I didn't know you had a 504 plan. What's in it? It's like, you remember that meeting? No. Okay. That happens more than I would like to think. And then truthfully, the things you can do, the accommodations you can do in a 504 plan are not major league. Okay. They will make things slightly easier, but they still fall far short of an individualized education plan that is specifically designed for kids with their kind of brain. And it's I think I'm not sure. Maybe one of the good things that'll come out of COVID is that we might do more individualized education plans on the computer. Maybe not. I mean, some ADHD kids love the computer, love computer instructions, and some can't stand it. But frankly, I don't know what the difference is, but I know that it's their best chance to get a truly individualized education program, education plan. Is probably the best bet is going to be some kind of computerized intervention with some artificial intelligence stuff mixed in so that it can automatically adjust and change. But that seems to be our best shot right now. But past that, the thing as a parent of an ADHD child, you've got to remember is that bad behavior doesn't necessarily constitute a behavior problem. That frequently it's because they know they can't do what you're asking them to do, or that they can't, it's going to be hard for them to do. And so you've got to recognize that. And this is, part of what I talk about strategic parenting is you need to look at the situation, get yourself outside of it, so that you're looking at it from up high somewhere. Look at the interaction and okay, what is going on here? What could be his weakness, his issue in this situation that he would get so out of control because I'm asking him to do it, or to do what the teacher told him, or whatever. And you got to train yourself to do this. Otherwise, it's going to be a long pull. Let's just put it that way. Because the thing you've got to recognize, first of all, is that punishment not only doesn't fix things, it has a tendency to make them even worse. And that, you've got a kid who's upset, who thinks he can't handle whatever it is that's being asked of him, and then you want to punish him on top of that. Not going to be a good situation. Not going to be a good ending to this. It's going to be troubles. So one thing you can do very easily is just make sure you're more positive with your child. That is, make sure that you're giving them at least 4 or 5 compliments or positive comments for every critical comment. I've talked about the Lesotho rule a bunch of times, but it's a piece of research that indicates how what reinforcement schedule people need to be on to perform at their best. And reinforcement schedule is just positives for negatives kind of thing. So that is one of the things you can do is try to be more positive, try to catch them being good. So you're not always seen as the disciplinarian, the one who enforces the rules, sometimes with an iron hand. Okay, because that is simple. And the other thing is you really need to educate yourself on ADHD. I mean, it is a tricky diagnosis. It's not easy for a clinician to make the diagnosis, especially as the kids get older. So you have got to know the theory of what ADHD is, and you've got to know how it presents itself, and you've got to be able to recognize that inattention is not a choice. Lack of control of attention is not a choice. It's a result of a neurologic condition. And if you can kind of keep that in mind and understand also that the yelling, screaming, jumping up and down, and all that stuff is because it makes their brains feel normal. So if you can try to hold those thoughts in mind so that you can kind of look at the situation and recognize, I wonder if this is because of his ADHD or her ADHD, that this is going on like this. Okay, and you need to become more aware of that, and don't. I mean, I know we're all busy, and we all have, well, especially COVID and all that other stuff that's going on right now. Uh, we've got a bunch going on, and we've got lots of things to think about. But a lot of times we just do things out of habit, just without really thinking about it. And if you're going to do strategic parent, you really have to make the extra effort to be aware, be alert, and actually be paying close attention to what's going on. If you can do those things, you're way ahead of the game. And I think you'll do better. You'll do better with your child and be less likely to just reflexively punish. So, okay, that's me for this week. I'm Dr. Terry James Gingras, and this is Dr. G's ADHD page. And this is a show trying to make the world safe for ADHDers. And I say it every week, but I mean it. We need people who think outside the box. Our neurotypical thinkers they're really good at sustaining things the way they are, but they don't make the big changes. They don't see the potential for the big changes that kids who think outside the box do. And if your child has ADHD, he or she is an outside the box thinker. And we need that. We need bunches of that. Okay, I will catch you next time, and have a good one.